Is that small talk?
We're back.
Small talk.
Hey, y'all, welcome back to another episode of Small Talk. You already know, two queens, two perspectives, one topic. Tonight, we have a special guest who's no stranger to small talk. We have Mr. Kevin here. Kevin, introduce yourself.
Y'all know, like, damn, that was crazy. Y'all know me. I'm Kevin Warren. I'm the CEO of We Are We Need, the Life Group, and the Life Center, focusing on social emotional learning and development, behavioral health, and all things Black, male, mental, and physical well-being.
Awesome. We're so happy to have you back again. And Britt, what are we talking about tonight?
Tonight, we are getting into handling conflict. So you just want to chop it up with you, Kev, just to kind of get some insight on how you handle conflict and what that looks like overall, right? When we talk about conflict resolution. So I don't know if you want to, well, I was going to swing it to relationships, but that's always like we'll save that for a little for a second. But let's start off with conflict resolution in general. How would you say that you handle basically conflict, really, when you have a difference of opinions, whether it's in work, relationships, whatever? How do you handle putting out the fire?
So, like, you want me to be true? You want to be like
Yeah,
professional?
we want you to be truthful.
No,
Yeah.
so I mean,
Come on now.
it's so many factors. And y'all know that. So, like, it's so many factors that when you deal with conflict. And so for me, I think it comes down to defining the conflict and controlling my spaces. So, or like the first thing that I think about, see, I'm a little different. And so, like, I'm kind of, my background trauma, like, I have to really calm myself down first. So the first thing I really think about is like my level of response. Like, when we talk about conflict, so like I've learned that with me, how we had that 0 to 100 real quick, like it's like that for real, right? So like when I realized that and I understood that about myself, I had to understand like the conflict. What's the very first conflict that is happening with me is the conflict of what the hell I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't even about you. Like, whatever is out here, it ain't even about you. I've had to learn in my experience that that's kind of the last conflict that's taking place, although it's the loudest. So for me, I start by like, whenever I feel that kind of that energy, that negative energy, the conflict becomes, how do I want to respond? Right. And y'all go back to some of the other episodes, you will see how I talk about your thoughts and your emotions. And so like that emotion, the conflict typically triggers an emotion first. And so with that emotion first, I then got to take into account that, hold on, let me have a process. Like, I passed that through. So that first thing that I do, I got to figure out, how do I want to respond? And if you're not threatening myself or my family, I likely don't really want to. You know what I'm saying? Like, likely it's not enough. Like, you don't have enough. It's not worth it enough. So how I deal with conflict is I really think about my damn self. I get really, really selfish about how do I want to respond? Because I know ultimately I'm going to end it however I want to end it. If I want it to go up, let's go up. If I want it to calm down and de-escalate, it'll de-escalate. But it's completely up to me where that's going to go. So I got to make that decision first.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's good. And thinking about that, right? So if you're thinking about, okay, this is how I want to respond, this is how I want it to, the outcome to be, right? And for you're talking about, for you it's like a 0 to 100 sort of thing. So what's the time limit on bringing something up that bothers you, right? And but that is going to lead to a bigger conversation. Like,
Oh,
do you have yeah, how do you handle that? Like, is it like you got to say it immediately? Is it like, no, I need 7 business days?
I gotta think, like when you think about when you think about how you want to respond, that the level of your response, you know, is going to come with a matching level of consequence.
Mhm.
That's why I think about it first. So like if I'm about to give you a 10, I got to know that the consequences are going to match that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
that's that first thought. So if it's a 10, then if it's a 10, I already thought about it. Let's go to jail, bro. Like it's cool. You violated what you've already crossed something that I've already made a conscious decision that I'm willing to die or go to jail for as a man. Right. So if it's a 10, it is right here, right now. Action. Already thought about consequences already. But if you're like at that 7, 8 range, kind of like, it's just really about how fast you can process that emotion and get back to a place of thinking, right?
Mhm.
Because when you're emotional, you can't think, right? You can't, like the cognitive abilities to really process all different angles of circumstances and situations are not there. So like your levels are off. So what I need to do first, I need to like, how fast can you come to like control yourself when you get pissed off? Right. So like for me, I do that pretty well. Like it takes a lot to get me mad. So like angry, I can get annoyed. I can get, some things that look like anger to some, but I'm not mad. But when I'm like on that way, I can process it really quickly. So then I can think really quickly. And when I think really quickly, you can kind of assert a decision. So like I'll say, yo, chill out. We ain't got to talk to this. I'm good, and I walk away. My thing that I always say is I'm good. Let me figure this out first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what I try to tell, specifically my wife, married 15 years. You don't marry 15 years, just happenstance. Right? I had to let her know, like, hey, it just happened. Like literally just happened, probably a couple days ago. Hey, I need to figure this out first. And when I say figure it out, I'm not saying I need to figure your part out. I need to figure what I want out. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot, like going back, I try to think about ultimately my life as the selfish as possible. What do I want? Right? What do I want out of this conflict? Do I even want, do I want an explanation? Do I want to explain myself? And then when I can, that's like the first thing that I can rationally think about. What do I want? I want to just leave this situation. Okay, well, I want to, and when I do that, I can tell my wife or I can tell that person, I need to figure out what I want here. And I want you to do the same thing because this shit right here is getting ready to go a whole different way if we don't have that thought first. And so I want to respect us both like that. And I can say that in the moment, I'll say that. But if it's like something that's 5 or below, I literally give it no energy. Like,
Nah, can't do it.
none.
I can't do it.
A 5 and below?
A 5, like give me an example of what a 5 is to you then. Tell me what a 5 would be to you that you can't do.
There is no number for me. I can't do any of it. If it's a 1, like well, let me not say that. That's a little.
What?
Listen, I don't want no number. You get on this, it ain't no spectrum.
There are no levels. It's all 10. It's all 10.
Yes or no. I got a light switch. I don't even got a dimmer switch. It's a light switch. It's either it's on or it's off.
I really look at things. I think it's more about the person for me, because if I have everything to lose, right, and you have nothing to lose, then there's no point in me pouring energy into something that doesn't, like, I'm gonna lose everything, right?
5 or low.
That's the 5 or low. But I'm wondering, I can't even say that. I was gonna say, I'm wondering if it's a male versus female thing, because you know that women are naturally more emotional. And I heard you say like the emotion comes first and then you kind of like rationalize that goes into the cognitive part of things. Women naturally, like, our first reaction is an emotional response. And then let me take it a step further and say, for me, I've learned to take a step back because I like to confront conflict head on when it first happens, instead of thinking about, okay, how would this response really affect the outcome, right? I'm getting there. I'm learning. But because I'm emotional, When somebody does something that I don't like, instantly, there's a response, whether it's the body language, whether it's words coming out of my mouth, whether I'm walking away, whatever it is, there's an immediate response for me that reacts off of emotion. So I'm wondering if is it a woman thing because we're emotional creatures? Or is it just a person thing that we all just kind of have to learn how we respond to conflict?
Asia, what you think?
Dang, yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm similar to you, Britt, in the sense of I do have an immediate response to whatever it is. But I'm learning that based on who the conflict is with, not even what the conflict is, but who it's with. My response is different though. So like, for instance, with my partner, I know that he does not do well if I have an emotional outburst. Doesn't do well with it. He's like, there's nothing I can do with that. Right. But because of that, I've learned I just take a pause. So if we're in a car and he says something or does something, I've been working on my facial expressions, right? But I'll just stare out the window. And then I will have to say, I'm just taking a pause right now. And I have to let myself simmer, because I am the type that I don't do the, like I joked around about like 7 business days. No, we're gonna talk about it before I go to bed, because I don't go to bed angry. I don't believe in that. I do not believe in that. So for me, it's like, we're going to talk about it in some capacity today.
So what talking about it means, hey, I can't talk about it with you.
No. We
If he says,
talking about it means like, hey, I'm not at the space to talk about it in a way that won't lead to consequences I'm not willing to face.
Nope.
I've had to learn that recently though, because my thing is just tell me that. The part that I don't like, that does not work for me rather, is if it's like you're taking a pause, like you're just like, to what you said, Kevin, you give it 0 energy and I don't know where you are, what headspace you're at. That I don't do well with. So I would actually rather you say like, yeah, let's talk about it tomorrow. Give me until, Wednesday or whatever the case may be, but to completely shut down and then try to go on as if it never happened, but we both know it happened. And then it's a little tension, because I'm like, so when are we talking about it? Because you're still mad, clearly, So yeah, but for me, in that example, Kevin, just tell me. I'm okay with that, but I'm gonna need to know when the rain check is.
Do you think, to your question, but I think that it would be a man and a woman thing to an extent, but not a man and a woman thing biologically. I think it's just a man and a woman thing socially, right? I think our social condition has created a man to be more aware of how he reacts or responds to his emotions. The consequences of a man's emotions, a Black man's emotions expressed without conscious thought, can be life or death. Right? Like,
right.
In any circumstance and situation, if I emotionally respond without conscious thought, the consequence of that is severely different than any other species on the planet.
Yeah.
So whether that is even, I'm not even talking about the police. Let's say in marriage, relationship. A good man's consequence of not being able to articulate his frustration is looking like the shitty guy, looking like death. Because if he can't communicate, right, where he's at, if he can't articulate that where he's at, then he's gonna have some behaviors around that, right? That's gonna create some conflicts, right? And so subsequently, that emotion of like, you hurt me, you emasculated me, you betrayed me, you neglected me, you whatever these things are that I've been conditioned not to express, because maybe if I say that, we're gonna argue, fight, and if I lose it's cheaper to keep her type situation, or like what we get ready to do, I ain't taking it. It's a whole different level. Like shit, I can't even have this. So the consequences of an emotional rant, the consequences of just a feeling too depressed. Like I heard 50 Cent say shit, depression is the luxury. Motherfucker, like depression is a luxury. I got bills to pay. Shit. As a man, I gonna have to get my ass up. And I'm depressed or not, depression gonna get on my back and we're gonna go to work. We're gonna go get this money. We're gonna go get it done. So like the consequences of our emotions have to be calculated. And we've had to calculate them. So like, unless you're wild, you know what I'm saying? Like you out there and you are loud, you can get locked. Like it's a whole lot of shit that can happen.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Dang, I didn't think about it like that.
That's the thing, is that when you're in it, you don't really there aren't often times where you have those moments and think about it that way.
Y'all don't. Women
Y'all
don't.
as in women?
Women don't, because women have been given permission to be emotional. So you have been given permission in the moment to not think about your emotions. Just, oh shit, she getting ready to go off. Like that's just about to be what's gonna happen. Us, we have been conditioned. You better think about that shit first. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? Why are you? What are you? Why are you mad? We've always had to think about it, not later, right then. So when y'all are like, what? It's like, what the fuck you want me to do? Like, I'm already thinking about the shit. Like, I'm thinking about it. You're emotionally reacting to it. Like, I'm actually thinking about it though. Right? Like,
yeah.
Thinking about it. You're reacting to whatever, but I'm thinking about it. So how you actually don't want to talk about it. You want to feel about it. You want us to just sit up in here and like be in our feelings about it. That's what you want. So me saying, oh shit, like come to me when you ready to solve it, right? Like that's when you come to me, like when you ready to solve it. I don't give a shit about these emotions. Like you know.
But
That's the realest thing.
It is true. It is true. I 100% agree with you. I just feel like that's where it's hard, because you have to find that balance and understand.
You got offended when I just said I don't give a shit about those emotions. He was like, see, that's the balance.
No, but it's not, because in order to get to, for me, conflict resolution lies in being empathetic, first of all, right? You have to understand, not necessarily feel it, but understand what that person is feeling in that moment and their perspective, in order to then apply it to your own thoughts and come to a resolution. So if I'm negating your emotions, I don't care what you feel.
So it is impossible. A solution is impossible to find when you are lost in the energy of the problem.
But being in the energy of the problem equates to just being emotional about something in general? Is that what you're saying?
You cannot, to find the solution of the problem, possible if we are lost in the energy of the problem.
I get that.
I get that. I get that too, but I still don't feel like emotion should be negated.
No, so go back to my thought process. If you are not your thoughts and emotions, do I really have to care about your thoughts and emotions, or do I need to understand how you, like the real you, must be perceiving your thoughts and emotions, because that's how you're showing up. It's like although I'm aware that you feel angry or you feel hurt, that's not you. That's your experience of what's happening. So I'm going to ask you, babe, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want us to be like, what do you want tonight?
So let me ask you this, because I love that you do that, right? Like you're more solution driven. It's not about like how you're feeling in the moment. This is what I'm gathering from what you're saying. It's not about how you're feeling in the moment, more so about what's the solution out of this. Okay, yeah, cry it out, you're mad, you're angry. Okay, so what happens next? No,
it's not. So I can give you space to feel, right? I can totally give you space to feel. And what I'm doing is I'm understanding that whatever I did or whatever these conditions are, you're experiencing this as that, as pain, as anger, as hurt, as whatever. But that's not you. So what I'm going to do as your spouse, your partner, I am going to not speak to you in the energy of the problem. I'm going to come around to who you really are and be like, okay, I realize this really hurts. And this felt like betrayal. Like, I get that. What do we want? Like, I get it. That shit fucking sucks. And it hurts. And I'll cry with you for a moment, right? And like what you need, but I just want you to know that's not you. And like, we can still shape this. We can still choose how this is going to impact and how we're going to respond to this. It hurts, absolutely. But because it hurts does not give an automated response to this hurt. We still get to feel that it hurts and then choose how we want to respond to this hurt based upon what we ultimately desire. You're hurt. Do you want to ruin our relationship by expressing how that hurt all the way made you feel in details that come across as anger because you think that this is where we are? Or do you ultimately want us to fix it and us to love on each other so we're going to realize this shit hurt? And you can articulate to me how that hurt you and all of the ins and outs about that without saying, you bitch ass, you weak, you suck, you, without all of that.
Yeah.
Because there's no solution if we are lost in that. You can be lost in that, but I can't be lost in that. One of us, if we're looking for a solution, cannot be lost in the emotion. One of us has to be up on the shore being like, hey, come out, right? Or, hey, here's the life raft. We both can't just jump in there and be in the shit trying to figure it out in the middle of the rapid. Like, that's not going to work. Like, we're gonna
that takes a level. I love that you said that. I 100% agree with you. Like, no, nothing that you said is untrue, but I do feel like that takes a level of maturity. It depends on the people, because I'm listening to you talk. There are oftentimes, my husband and I, we don't argue often, but when we do, we can have those conversations of, if I'm up here, he will never be up here with me. Or if he's up here, which is he got to be pissed off to the max. It's like, hold on, okay, he's acting out of character. Let's balance each other out. But that takes a level of maturity, because if you do have two people that are both up here or both down here, then that's where the conflict resolution doesn't come in, right? We're not resolving these issues and emotions are high. Would you say that you're the type of person, in order to have these effective communication skills, if you will, would you say that you are the type of person, or do you need to be the type of person that takes a step back and kind of revisits the problem at a later time? Or is this something that you feel like you can do right away?
It depends. And it depends on, to me, it depends on who I'm in conflict with, like you guys said.
Mhm.
That's the level of, like, if it's business, decisions need to be made. And with a lot of decisions in business, you got to live with the consequences, good or bad. You got to hold your losses just as though as you celebrate your wins. So with business, you got to try to make the decision expeditiously. But when you're talking about hearts, and you're talking about souls, you're talking about love, like, somebody, take a moment to really understand, remembering those thoughts aren't you and those feelings aren't you, but you got to really understand what you truly want. And a lot of the times, what you ultimately want does not align with how you feel in that moment. I am angry. And in that moment, I want you to get the hell away from me and go off. But ultimately, I want us to grow closer.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at a conflict right there, right? So that's the real conflict. So what you're saying is that maturity, it's a level of internal healing, internal self-love, like self-love, awareness, all of that goes into maturity. And that's why I tell folks, don't even consider this life until you're 28, bro. Like, don't even think about it. Don't even get that knee ready to being like that, bro. Don't even fathom being a husband until your 28th birthday. Don't even consider it. Like, please don't. Do everybody a favor. Don't do it. I don't care how you love.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. Love is not enough. You hear me, people? Your listeners, understand. Love is not enough. Okay? that shit is not gonna keep you because conflict will break the hell out of you.
Mm,
Sorry, I'm
really
being
well.
quick to tell
Yeah.
them. It's
I
serious.
think that's such a good point. Even you saying like, that conflict can break you, right? And even with that, um, how important is it to you, right? To prove your point in an argument, right? Like, let's say it gets to that place, that it's an intense conversation. Let's say, like, especially if you know you're right. It's like, let's say, like, you are right. You are 100% right about something. And the person that you are in conflict with is really like, they think that they're right, right? And they're not. Like, let's say this is a scenario, you are very clearly right, whether it's your, whatever it is, you are objectively right.
Mhm.
How important is it to you to prove your point, to make sure that they understand that you are right in that scenario?
Me being right, so I don't, maybe it's different. I've taken myself, I'm not right. There's truth, right? There's truth, and then there's untruths. That's it. So like, my opinion ain't right. My opinion is mine. You can have an opinion too, and that's fine. What's the truth though? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's the truth of the matter. And if the truth of the matter is something like it's a fixed thing, my opinion nor your opinion matters. Are we going to agree that this is what we're going to, like, the fixed is the fixed? So long story short, it only matters if you understand me. I don't need to be right, because the bigger problem is if you don't understand me, then why are we sharing space?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that. Now that's a conversation that most of us don't want to have. You might be sharing space because the sex was good. You might be sharing space because the conversation was good. You might be sharing space because they come financially. You might be sharing space, and you don't really want to talk about the other reasons why you shouldn't really be sharing space, or you don't want to. So it's like, it's not about being right to me as much as if you get it. I don't give a shit who right. Like, but if you're not understanding like what I'm trying to say to you, that means we're not communicating right, or like there's a much bigger problem. And we probably should think about, are we supposed to be sharing this space together? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
versus right or wrong.
yeah.
But I try not to care, but I'm an asshole, so I probably do care. My wife would probably come down and be like, you full of shit, you care. You know. So it's a balance.
I think you always give a different perspective that I never really think about. Like, I never really thought, oh, truth and untruth. I'm more so like right or wrong. Somebody's right, somebody's wrong in a situation. And it's true, however we think about it, the point is that there's an understanding of perspective. This is exactly what you said. As long as we can understand each other, I think I'm more adamant about you understanding where I'm coming from. So it's spouse or even best friends, when it comes down to kind of arguing, we're really arguing or debating about something. I'm more concerned with you understanding my perspective. I'm a huge fan of agree to disagree, because just because you're saying something or I'm saying something, it doesn't necessarily mean that there is a right or wrong in this situation. But do you understand where I'm coming from, right? And once you understand that point, I feel like a huge segue into finding a resolution to the conflict is validating key points that somebody makes, because somebody always thinks about something that you didn't think about. So if I can validate you in those moments, but then turn it around and say, yes, I understand you, I'm validating you, but this is also how I feel about this situation. Then it can lead into okay, so what's the solution to this? How do we get to this point then? I validated you. I need you to understand where I'm coming from. Now what's the solution? I feel like a lot of people have a problem with acknowledging when someone is quote unquote right, or acknowledging that they understand someone else's point of view in order to get to the solution. It's always like, no, but did you hear me? Because we talk about active listening all the time. Are you actively listening to me? Are you just hearing me so you can get your point out to like overshadow what I'm saying. You're not hearing me. You're not listening. You're not doing none of that. You just need to get your point across. And when we start sitting back to kind of understand people's perspective, and they may view things totally different from where they come from, right? Their experience, life, believe it or not, your life experiences, the trauma that you've gone through or not gone through, who you're with, who you are today, all of that falls into how you even carry a conversation with somebody. How you, we could be sitting right here. I have on a black shirt, but y'all can see something navy blue. Y'all can see something, I don't know, totally different than what I see. But that it caters to where we've been and what we understand and perceive as Black. It's 3 different perspectives here. When people
Right.
start understanding that, they'll be able to get to a solution a lot quicker.
I take this cell phone and I don't want to show y'all how broke my case is,
We
but
saw it already.
I'll do that. I got another one too. So I take the cell phone and I give that example to the kids. If we can all understand that if I hold up a phone, right? Let me hold up this side, it's not as bad. If I hold up a phone, right?
Mhm.
And I say, let's describe it. The common goal, like the truth is, we are trying to paint a picture of a cell phone. That's the truth. Are we in agreement that we are both trying to paint a picture of a cell phone? Yes, yes. Then now we can have the conversation. Tell me what you see. You're going to say, I see a flat screen. It has some numbers on it. It has some words on it. And I could say bullshit because I see. Don't have no words, don't got no number. I don't see, I see 3 little dots. I see, right? My perspective is completely different. We can choose to say you're right or I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. But the fact is we're both right to the common goal of drawing the best cell phone picture. If you want it to be right, you're going to have a one-dimensional picture of a cell phone. If I want it to be right, I'm going to have the back of a cell phone. But if we wanted to win the competition, we're going to go and we're going to draw the fullness of a cell phone, because you're going to tell me what you see and I'm going to tell you what I see, and I'm going to believe you because that's your perspective of it. And you're going to believe me because that's my perspective of it. And then we're going to draw it, and then we're going to both get a chance to look and be like, oh shit, that's a cell phone. You know, like, you're right, you did see it. So I think, to your point, it's be in the moment, understanding what is the truth that we are, like, in this moment, like, what are we trying to get to? What is the truth of this matter? Are we trying to end it? And then we can shape how we're receiving and communicating to one another. And I don't have to be angry with what you're telling me, or I don't have to say what you're telling me is not right, because you're just telling me your perspective of it.
Yeah, I think, and something I was gonna say too, I think sometimes people don't want to do either of those things because they think about being in competition with the other person, right? Or the other parties involved.
Mhm.
And sometimes we forget it, we can be on the same team, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a competition against each other, because what tends to happen within conflict, within only having your own perspective, right? And trying to be right, or even the truth thing. Because sometimes people can feel like, well, my feeling is my truth, right? Like I said earlier, my thought is my truth.
Yeah.
And so when somebody attacks, so like, let's say the same thing with the cell phone, if I'm describing the front of the cell phone, which is my perspective, and you say, no, well, it's this and this, I won't take it as, okay, well, he has a different perspective, right? I'll say, does he not believe that what I'm saying is true? So now he's coming against my character. I feel like so often in conflict, because I am actually a fan of conflict. I love it. I'm one of those, let's talk about it. Because I view it as a progressive thing. I do.
Yeah.
It's a progressive thing. It can push anything forward. Right. Because I think new ideas are birthed from that. Critical thinking is birthed from that, because you don't even know why you think what you think until you come against somebody that does not think the same way that you do. Then you're forced to explain why you think the way that you think, right, about a particular thing. But I think that's dangerous sometimes, because we take conflict too personally. And that's when, it's like, nope, can't rock with them no more because they think I'm a liar. Can't really rock with them anymore because nope, not here for it. And it's like, that's not necessarily true, right? So sometimes I think it's just about getting the ideas out, coming at it from, let's just get the full picture of it. Let's just get the full picture of it. And so I think it's just super important that we stop taking conflict so personally. It's not a personal attack.
Yeah.
That's good.
It doesn't have to be that.
Or even tied to a negative connotation. I love that you said that. Because when you hear the word conflict in itself, you're automatically thinking it's something negative, when really something good can come out of it. Exactly what you just said. I love that.
You said that, I just thought of fire, like a match. You guys, it's a conflict. Most things happen. Friction, that's conflict. You know what I mean? Like two opposing things happening. A lot of power happens that way. You know, that's dope. That's a great perspective.
Yep, love it.
And this has been another episode of Small Talk. You already know, Two Queens, Two Perspectives. Today we are honored to have Kevin, a king, here with us. We're just so grateful for you sharing your time with us, Kev. We really appreciate it. And we will see y'all on the next episode. Bye.